Mr. Katz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will my esteemed Natalie-attired colleague please yield the
You yield, Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. First question on higher education. Last year we had put in an allocation for $250 million for the new nanotechnology center, and I didn't see any further. It was supposed to be $400 million was supposed to be our piece of the deal with IBM and Intel and Sanyo for them to put in $4.5 billion for the second generation central processors and the nanotechnology center and research there. Is there any further allocation for that this year?
No, we gave it last year. We're not doing this year.
Okay, great, thank you. My next question is, you know, in this day and age, with what this assembly keeps, you know, strives to do, I'm very curious why you kept in the $60 million for Buffalo Bills stadium improvements and operating support. I mean, aren't they wealthy enough that they can handle their own operating support? I mean, why are we doing this for them?
Yeah. You know, the New York Giants said that one day, and now they're the Jersey Giants. They made a lot of money, but they decided they could make it someplace else. Buffalo is the same thing. I don't know how much money they're making, but there is a lot of questions as to where they could go and make more. So we're working very hard to make sure we keep them, because I don't want to get beat up because they left Buffalo.
Is it really worth that? You're talking about, in this stadium particularly, you're talking about essentially a handful of people who will go to this stadium 8 days out of the year. And I know that, you know...
They're all in this room. You better get a bodyguard.
And from what I understand, I don't know that the revenue generated to the city is going to be commensurate with what we're giving them. And again, you know, this is the leverage that they're giving you, is that we're going to leave. Well, you know, what happened? I don't see that this is the financial boon to the, you know, to the city of Buffalo. No, honestly, no offense intended to my colleagues up in Buffalo, but why with us, with all the needs that our state needs, to be giving $60 million to billionaires who could more than afford all of this right here, stay here, whatever?
I'm old enough to remember Branch Rickey. You know who he? You got
sure remember
hair.
Branch Rickey and the
right.
Brooklyn Dodgers.
He said the same thing, and we said, many people spoke as you did, why do we need the Dodgers? They're nobody. They'll stay here. Don't, you know, they're now the L.A. Dodgers. I talked about the Giants and the Jets, and they're working very hard right now to make it seem like we in New York City are going to get a football game, and it ain't in New York City.
That's right.
I mean, they're working very hard. And it was because we refused to do the things that they wanted us to do. That's why the Yankees have a new stadium. We spent a lot of money. They make a lot of money, but it works for us. One of the things you do say about sports, what it does is becomes who you are. That and having a TV show named after you. You know, if you get either one of those, then you're somebody. Well, Buffalo has got a lot of hard times. I don't think it would be a smart thing to let that team leave, because it would really do damage to the city and the mentality of the city. I believe one day we'll turn it around. Remember Pittsburgh? You couldn't breathe the air there.
That's right.
Today it's a completely different city. It survived.
That is true.
The country's leaving. We built all airplanes during the Second World War, everything there. They're going to come back. We're going to make that happen. But letting a football team go, that symbol would be a major expense. $60 million in a $141 billion budget is not a loss, and we'll also get money from it too. We are getting taxes. There's food. There's things that go with those 200 people that go to the game.
Thank you. Next question. I see on page 23 of the of what we just got of our executive budget, the assembly changes on page 23, you've got $100 million for the assembly jobs plan, which to me is almost like an oxymoron, but I'm willing to hear what you have to say. What's that $100 million going towards the assembly jobs plan? What is that exactly?
Restores New York Communities initiatives for $30 million, puts $20 million to business community redevelopment, something everybody talks to us about. Advanced manufacturer and certificate assistance, $25 million. Education and workforce training program facilities, $15 million. And a support for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics training activities, another $10 million. That's what we're spending the money for, and I think each and every one of those things have a value.
Okay. Well, my next question is, you've got Budget Bill A3001 on page 4, line 41, Assembly Miscellaneous Contractual Services. And this year, you've got in there $12,111,000, down from last year, $17 million. Could you tell me it's just down as a line item. Could you tell me the purpose of that miscellaneous contractual services? What is that for?
This is a battle the unions have been having for a long time. They use a lot of people from private practice, and they go and do the job. We believe that the government can do a better job of the jobs that they're doing. So it's a battle that's been going on for years as to the amount of people we have. We can do it for cheaper.
So
and do as well.
So what is the miscellaneous contractual services supposed to? What is that $11 million getting us?
That's how much we pay for it, and we're cutting it back so they have to use less.
Who is using it?
Different programs, different agencies are using it.
Different agencies? So who is the person who controls those funds? Who controls the miscellaneous contractual services?
Yeah. It's a 10%, it's a 10% cut on agencies across the board.
So who controls that fund, Mr. Farrell? That's
No, the money coming in does it. If the bill passes, 10% will be cut.
The reason that
So that means they will have to hire people and not buy people.
Okay, you're not answering my question, Mr. Farrell, and there's a reason that I'm asking this, which I'll get to in a minute. Who controls the miscellaneous contractual services fund of $12 million? Who can go to the controller and say, I want this amount of money out of the miscellaneous contractual services fund?
It will be the executive. It's their bill. It would pay for their cuts. They would be responsible for the cuts. The governor would basically be responsible for it. It is their responsibility. Their responsibility.
So my question to you is that how is it that Sheldon Silver wrote a check for $103,800 out of the miscellaneous contractual services, which you did not mention to me that Sheldon Silver is one of the people who controls that fund?
Well, I'll accept what you say and continue. Got any other questions?
I'm on the bill, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell.
On the bill, Mr. Katz.
Well, you just heard it, everybody. Miscellaneous contractual services, who's supposed to be funded by somebody that Mr. Farrell is sort of giving me some yammer about, and it turns out that it's Sheldon Silver who controls those $12 million. I want to know how many other issues like this are in the bill, are in this budget that we do not know about. I have another. May I ask Mr. Farrell another question? Or am I too? I don't know the procedures for this. If I've gone on the bill, can I no longer?
You've gone on the bill, Mr. Katz. You can come back.
Okay. So I will ask. You know, my question at this point is: are there other line items in this budget that we do not know about that $12 million miscellaneous contractual services, that was a check for Vito Lopez for the settlement against sexual harassment of 2 employees that Sheldon Silver told to come out of miscellaneous contractual services. What I want to know is how much, what else is in this budget, or is this it, that is a discretionary fund, in a sense, for Sheldon Silver, that we can't hear about the truth? I want the truth. It's bold-faced that this is not the truth. $103,800 was cut out of this miscellaneous contractual services for the purpose of a, quote, out-of-court settlement, unquote, for 2 women who were claimed sexual harassment against Vito Lopez. I want to know how much more of this is in there, and that is the reason that there are people who around the state who are asking for forensic accounting, accountings of this budget for exactly this. Are there others? Is there any other discretionary funds that the leader can have? Is it the same thing in the Senate? I think that there are people who want to know these things. Especially, I can tell you myself, I have I have a FOIL request that was honored, and we're looking into it ourselves. But I will tell you, I'm very shocked and disturbed by Mr. Farrell's answer to me, where he couldn't even tell me that Sheldon Silver has some control over the...
Yes, Mr. Farrell. Mr. Katz, will you yield?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. When I answered the question I answered, it was not the question you asked, the original question you asked. And I gave you a question and answer because there is a program, and it's a program where people do work, and when they do the work, they do work in place of governmental workers. And as I said, it's a big issue, and everybody's made something about it. What you're talking about is something that you read in the Assembly budget. So I just wanted to clarify. When I said the governor was the one in charge, the governor was in charge because I was speaking to that issue, not to the issue that you're speaking to.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. I appreciate that, but by the same token, there is no question of where that check was cut. Okay? It was
that has
cut
nothing
from
to do with my
miscellaneous
answer
contractual
or to the
services. We are responsible for having a budget that is open, transparent, that we all can understand, and is factually correct. I don't see that right now, at least in this one instance. So what my fear is, how much more of this is in the budget that we do not know about? This is very disturbing to me, sir. Thank you very much.